All right, Ethan Skolnick for the 5 Reasons Sports Network after the Miami Dolphins lose their season opener up in Foxborough 21-11 to Cam Newton, Bill Belichick, and mostly that Patriot defense. I've got Louis Sung here. We're going to go through some of the keys to the game and kind of what happened. I know 5 of the 6 of us on the pregame show thought the Dolphins would win this game. Here's my overall thought, and then we'll kind of dive into the positions and everything else that happened here. I just, to me, it was kind of a blah effort overall. That's kind of the best way I would describe it. But the biggest concern to me, and there were some units that played better than others, but the biggest concern to me is that you had a Patriot team that came in with Cam Newton kind of late to camp. You had Chan Gailey coming in as a new offensive coordinator, but somebody with a lot of familiarity with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Yet overall, it seemed to me like the Patriots had a plan that they were trying to execute. And the Dolphins on both sides really didn't. The Dolphins rolled 4 running backs. Gaskin got a little bit of kind of rhythm, but nobody else really did. I thought the receivers, other than Parker, were not good. And then Parker went out with an injury, which is the last thing you want to see from him. And then the run defense, and particularly the way they defended the zone read, Cam ended up with over 60 yards rushing, and obviously had a touchdown in the first half. Just overall, I don't know. I expected after the last game of the regular season last year up in Foxborough where they played such a spirited game. I don't know if it's no fans. I don't know what the issue was. They just didn't have it today, Lewis.
It kind of just felt like this was a team that really suffered from not having a preseason. This is a very young, very inexperienced team. I remember seeing a tweet that apparently that Tony Romo is making $17 million in the press box, and not one player on the Dolphins is making that much this entire season. So, but it's telling that this team is so young, so again inexperienced, and this is a team that desperately needs some time to gel. And I was hoping again that they would show a better effort. I was hoping that there would be some more oomph in the team, if that makes sense. But it really didn't feel like that things started to pick up until after Ryan Fitzpatrick started running with the football again. That's kind of what triggered everything that started going right for the Dolphins last season. Was Fitzpatrick finally decided, you know what, I'm just going to have fun with it and start running with it. But you know what, there was something else that I had tweeted during the game, is that I'm wondering if that's why offenses seem so boring, so blah, so lifeless. In order to have a multi-dimensional offense, you kind of need to have a multi-dimensional quarterback. Tom Brady in New England was successful for years, but I don't think anybody would ever say that the Patriots offense was fun to watch. It was fun to watch them win, but it wasn't fun to watch. Cam Newton doing what he did, it was fun for not for Dolphins fans, but it was fun to watch, because is he going to take it? Is he going to keep it? Is he going to give it to the other guy? Or is he going to pull it back and throw it? You just never know. That's the mystery. And that's why defenses, including Miami's, there was a lot of that I noticed. They were cheating up. They weren't really committing to anything. And at the times they did commit to something, well, it turned out that they committed wrong and they ended up getting burned for it. So that's the kind of thing that they have to think about moving into the next game, which I believe is against Buffalo, and Josh Allen, who he has also had in just the short time he's been in the league, he already has a history of just running roughshod all over the Miami Dolphins defense. Josh Allen, again, he's not really a quarterback per se, as he is a running back playing quarterback, and he's doing a very good job doing that, by the way. I think he threw for 300 yards today against the Jets, but so...
And they're 1-0. They come in, and a lot of people favor them to win the division. But I think, again, you saw you can't really write off the Patriots today. Let's get to some of the specific units, who was good and who was bad. I think that the list of who was good to me is a fairly short list. I thought Christian Wilkins was impactful. I thought the offensive line, for the most part, Austin Jackson, a couple of others on the line, looked pretty good, considering, again, it's such a young group that hasn't played together. I don't think they were the big problem today. I think, obviously Jerome Baker had some moments for sure. Obviously had the one strip play, which kind of, gave the Dolphins some life. And then they followed that up with a pretty good drive. He also had, a couple of penalties that, he just talked about, which he himself called unacceptable. But on the bad side, to me, the run defense is going to need to be better for this team. I just think in general going forward. But the other thing I want to touch on, Lewis, is the receiver play. I'm not saying Fitzpatrick was great today. At least 2 of the 3 interceptions were on him. You can kind of talk about maybe there should have been a flag on the third one. But I don't know. Other than Parker, I just didn't see anybody open. Jakeem Grant once, but other than that, like, I don't know. I expected a little bit more from Preston. Do they have enough on the outside?
I think they have enough on the outside. I don't think the issue is that there's not talent there. I really think there is talent. And also, I will argue that first interception, while we blame Fitzpatrick, we want to blame the quarterback so easily because I think we're looking for an excuse to throw Tua in. At least a lot of us are. But Fitzpatrick, that first interception, Williams had position. He just slipped and fell and ended up putting himself out of position. So you can blame that on Preston Williams. But the second one, there's no excuse. The third one, that should have been a PI because Gesicki got mugged. So, but there is talent there. Again, it's just these little fundamental things that they need to fix. And also there needs to be some serious scheming things. You see how the Patriots run their offense. And as much as we want to say that everything changed because Cam is there were a lot of moments where I'm thinking to myself, did Tom Brady leave? Because it looks like it's the same offense. It looks like these guys are just running their little slants. They're always open in the middle of the field. Nothing has really changed. Well, why can't the Dolphins do that? Why is it every pass seems to be like right near the sideline or right in the middle of the little thing there, and you have to just kind of hope and pray that they can kind of escape and do that? And if that is the case, why are you not using the players that are known for being able to do something with that space? Jakeem Grant got one catch that I can really remember. He bounced off the dude like a pinball, and he wound up running for the first down anyway. So again, we seem to be hesitant to use our actual playmakers, and I'm not sure if that's
one of the issues. Lewis, that's one of the issues. They don't have a ton of quick twitch players on their offense, right? They've got Grant, they got Brieda. They don't have a ton of those guys, so when you don't use them a lot, there's no Albert Wilson this year, right? You haven't incorporated Malcolm Perry yet. So you're counting on, two, big play receivers on the outside. Gesicki's a bigger guy at tight end. And so I thought what we were going to see today with the Chan Gailey offense, and I'm so damn old that I covered the team, and I got to know Chan pretty well, the 2000 team that went to the postseason, and Lamar Smith ran for 209 yards. I expected to see a little bit more ground and pound today, and yet to sort of set that stuff up. And yet they rotated four backs. Gaskin got I think 3 straight possessions where he was the lead guy. It was Howard early, then Howard late. He didn't look great to me. Brieda didn't play much. And then they had a series where it was Patrick Laird. And so I'm just a little bit confused about who. Okay, I understand New England does this too, where they rotate in a bunch of backs. But I really thought when we saw, even when Gesicki wasn't listed as a starter and everything, and it just seemed Smythe was, it's just, okay, this is going to be a ground and pound team. They're going to play that way. They never really got to it. And like you said, they didn't really start moving the ball offensively until Fitz started improvising. And so I'm hoping that Chan Gailey gets it with this group. But again, you brought in Chan Gailey and you got rid of O'Shea because you were trying to bring in an older, experienced hand who, again, you didn't argue with as much about some issues. And he didn't establish anything today.
No, he didn't. And that's the real reality of the situation is that it looks like they wanted to. At the start, you could tell they wanted to run the football, but it was obvious that it wasn't working. So that's actually another New Englandism. They go with what works. And if what they're trying to do isn't working, then they're not going to stay trying to use it. They're going to move on to something else, which they did. So in that regard, you can say it was still a very New Englandish strategy. The running game was not working, so they didn't keep trying to smash it down their throats, desperately trying to make it work. That would have just been a waste of time. So, and that's where I say the running game, again, it needs to be improved. Gaskin, actually, I was surprised to see Gaskin do as well as he did. I figured they would have thrown Breida in at that point, but again, this is really starting to feel the same Kenyon Drake vibes. You have this speedy, twitchy, very agile running back, and you're just trying to not use him. I don't understand the logic. I still don't understand the logic. That's the one thing about this Dolphins team, this Dolphins franchise over the past several years, is that you have playmakers and you don't want to use them. I don't understand. I don't understand.
And maybe some of it was not having training. I don't want to make excuses because the Patriots had the same situation, but maybe some of it was not having training camp. Having training camp and not having the preseason games where you could take a look at some of this stuff. But it is such a trend that over the years, the Dolphins have just not used the playmakers they have, and they haven't had that many of them. And so, you want to see them, with somebody who can break a play. There was never a feeling today that anybody was going to break anything. And then again, when Parker was out, that exacerbated it. I do want to, before we close here, obviously you mentioned they play Buffalo next week, and that's going to be a challenge, and this thing could kind of go downhill pretty quickly. But, the Tua question's going to come up, obviously. I thought Fitzpatrick was okay today. His numbers were okay. Like you said, one of the 3 picks was clearly his fault. I just think that when you look at it in the grand scheme, to me, the biggest question with Tua this year is, will he be protected behind this offensive line? I thought they did enough today to give you some hope for that. Where do you need to be from a comfort standpoint before that happens?
I need to see them face a team that actually has some real pass rushers. I don't know. I don't know the schedule by heart, but let's say they face off against a Washington where they have a Montez Sweat, they have Chase Young in them, and if they can manage to hold them off in pass protection, then I would feel a lot more comfortable throwing Tua out there. But again, it's improvising that I think is what really makes the difference. I think Austin Jackson looks pretty good, all things considered. I thought, aside from that one penalty, Eric Flowers didn't look bad. It's the run blocking that's always the biggest issue with these Dolphins. Pass protection actually looked much more improved as far as I'm concerned. Austin Jackson looks very promising. We still need to fix that right tackle thing because Jesse Davis, as much as I like the guy as a 6th man, he's not a starter that I want as my starting right tackle. I want somebody to actually go ahead and be that guy. But this is why I say I didn't want Tua to start until 2021 because I don't trust the offensive line. That's really the only reason. But if he can find a way to improvise, if he can protect himself, if he can run and not do what Fitzpatrick does, which is just leap across the line and does not care about his body because apparently he's made of rubber. I need to see some proof that they can actually hold his own and let Tua be a pocket passer because it was clear that the Dolphins were not going to get anywhere until Fitzpatrick decided, you know what, I'm just going to do the Cam thing and I'm going to take off and run.
Well, I think the other thing that the variable this season is with because the Dolphins are allowing some fans in the stands, but not without the usual crowds that you're going to have, there won't be quite the pressure that there ordinarily would be to kind of stick Tua in. But if you're 0-3 or you're 0-4, I don't know. I mean, I think there will be a little bit of a drumbeat there. I think the fact that, you've got other teams in the market playing pretty well might take some of the pressure off with the Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Marlins are in a playoff spot, and the Hurricanes actually, when their opener, they were expected that, but they're ranked now, and they play Louisville this weekend. So you may be able to push some of the pressure back as opposed to the Dolphins in September being typically the only game in town. And so all of that pressure kind of goes to them. Final thing, Lewis, give him a grade for today.
The team in general?
Yeah.
You know what? I'm going to give them a C. And it goes up because Christian Wilkins had himself one heck of a game. Like, he tipped 2 passes at the line of scrimmage, got 2 sacks, a lot of tackles. Jerome Baker, for all his issues, he was all over the place today. And, of course, that one, at the time, it was a game-saving strip fumble that he actually managed to force. So I'll give them props for that. As far as I'll give Gaskin some good props too, because for all the talk about him being the most bland running back on the roster at this point, he actually looked to be the best guy out there. So who knows? Maybe we actually have a diamond in the rough there that we can work with. But everything else, the wide receivers, Preston Williams needs to get some tar on his cleats or something because he was slip and sliding all over the place. Like he had butter on the bottom of his shoes. That's not okay. The rest of the linebacker core, Kyle Van Noy looked lost the whole game, which you would not expect from a veteran player. Defensive ends, again, same deal. Maybe they were all just trying to make sure that Cam didn't beat them, but in doing so, they let Cam beat them. So I can't give them I can't give them much credit for that. They have to find a way to get their fundamentals in order, and I have faith that Brian Flores can do it. It's going to take a little longer than we'd hoped.
Yeah, I mean, the one concern I have with Van Noy is the same concern I always have. Players leave Pittsburgh and New England, and takes them a little bit of time, if at all, to sort of recapture that magic. So we'll see if the Dolphins are able to use Van Noy as they should, because they know him. Obviously, he knows Flores, but if they can recapture the magic that he had with New England, where he was a core player there, I'm going to give them a C-, and I think, again, that's probably generous because they did enough defensively to hang in the game. They did have the one play by Baker. There weren't a ton of mistake penalties. I mean, there were a couple, but they weren't like awful. Like early in the season last year, I mean, the offensive line, I mean, it was like they were playing with 3 guys on the field instead of 5, and they were getting blown off the field. Expectations should be higher, but I'd say C- to D+, somewhere in that range. I just, again, we didn't see him in the preseason, so we didn't know what to expect. But there are some areas that clearly need to be tightened, and run defense, and then, finding a way to get your explosive players the ball. And this is going to be one of these decisions that's questioned all year. I know O'Shea wasn't popular with everybody, but, Chan Gailey was, again, 2000 was the last time he was, 2000, 2001 was the last time he was here as offensive coordinator. And today it didn't look like you hoped it would look. So we'll see what it looks like next week. Follow Louis D. Sung. Again, the next few games, Bills, Jaguars, who won today, by the way. Seahawks won today. So actually, the next Russell Wilson, I don't think had an incomplete pass or something close to that. Bills, Jaguars, Seahawks. The Jaguars aren't supposed to be very good. The other 2 teams are. All 3 of those teams won today. So we'll see what happens.
2 out of 3 are running quarterbacks.
Yes, that's right. And the third guy is elite in other ways too. So they're gonna have to deal with that next week. Our follow Louis D. Sung, 3 yards per carry, will be out with a podcast Monday. I'm sure Simon will have some choice words for this particular performance. So join Alfredo, CK, and Simon there, and we'll be back with 5 on the floor tonight. Also, check out the best thing that happened to Miami Sports today was Sixto Sanchez. So check that out on our feed. It looks like the Marlins have a real pitcher on their hands. It's reminding me a little bit of Dontrell and Jose. It's early, but it's a good start. All right,
it's crazy how well the Marlins have done. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yep, exactly. Dolphins got a little bit of a reprieve. Not too much of one. Have a good day.